People, here we are. Block Party's back. I'm your host, Mike Wahle. Thanks for watching. If you're enjoying, please subscribe, rate, and review on our YouTube channel, Process to Perform. You can hit me up at MikeWahle68 on Twitter, Process to Perform on Instagram. Let's see. Our show is always, as always, is sponsored by BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and games. Bet against the spread every single week for your chance at weekly prizes up to $200,000. And when the game's over, head on over to Online Casino or get in on a game of blackjack or poker. Unwind with one of our over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online where the game starts. And listen, Packers win. The headline here is, 24-19 over the Rams. We knew this was a get-right game. I'm going to say this. The Packers defensively had another spirited performance under the new DC, Jeff Hafley. And as a former player, listen, you're never going to apologize for winning a football game. You're never going to complain about winning a football game. Scoring 24 points in the National Football League is nothing to scoff at. Not the best. Having said that, it's not the best game you're ever going to see from the Green Bay Packers. And this is against the team, quite frankly, with the injuries and just kind of talent level that the Rams have, aside from having it, you just call a tier one quarterback, Matthew Stafford. I think defensively, you probably expected the Packers to score in the 30s. I think that's what they were giving up. And then certainly on the ground, they're giving up over 160 yards in the run game coming into the game. I think Packers did slightly worse than that. If you look at this game offensively, Jordan Love, he's kind of the reason, or one of the large reasons for this being a seesaw game. Stats-wise, you look at the game, you go 15-26, 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, sacked 2 times. Surface level, pretty good day. Pretty effective day, 26 passes. And you start thinking about, okay, what does that mean from a rushing standpoint? We must have racked up 200 yards on the ground again. You start watching the tape, and here's the thing about the Packers team, just maybe broadly, and this is a real credit to – I really credit LaFleur. I don't think I've ever given credit to a coach as much as I've given credit to LaFleur over the last, let's say, calendar year. And then also Goody. That wide receiver room, if you're just really watching film, they get open at an alarming rate, and they separate at a distance from the bad guys that you really just don't see when you turn on other NFL games. These guys are wide ass open a lot, and they are running into space that is wide ass open a lot. So when you look at the 15-26, you go, okay, well, that's what is that? 26, it's close to 60. I think that's spot on, damn near 60% completion percentage. 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. But then you start watching the tape and you go, man, there's you're missing a couple throws that nothing's a gimme in the National Football League, but a couple throws that you probably want back. Certainly the early bomb to Jaden Reed will show it, was triple coverage, not a good throw. I don't know. I still, to this day, don't know how that corner misses that ball. But Packers sometimes, maybe they're from Boston and not Green Bay because they got some lucky charms with some of the stuff that ends up working out. Josh Jacobs, I think he's 19 rushes, 73 yards, had the touchdown on the first or second drive. And, I'll just say this about Josh Jacobs. He makes a lot of chicken salad out there, man. He does a good job of making chicken salad and some of that blocking that's happening kind of at the line of scrimmage or sometimes even in our backfield. So he is turning out to be a real weapon, a real fun player to watch. And you just want to see him get more and more opportunities. I think, unfortunately, with even against this Rams team, which you just think at surface level, again, you should be able to move the ball, run a lot of gap stuff. You see a lot of the effective plays be in the toss cracks, be in the plays of the receivers. So I think that one of the bright spots of this season and continuing through this game is Tucker Kraft. So Tucker, I think he leads the team in receiving. He has 2 touchdowns. He had 4 catches for 88 yards. Obviously, the big screen touchdown was huge. I'm sorry, that wasn't a screen. He did have the big screen touchdown, but his first touchdown, what is so impressive about him I was trying to figure out how you what you would compare him to. Obviously, Sam Laporta comes in last year in that draft cast and kind of is the guy. And then Luke Musgrave gets drafted before him, Tucker, so I think from North Dakota State. But when you look at the skill set, you look at his ability after the catch is actually, he's I'll say this just out of respect, he's George Kittle-esque in his ability to break some of these tackles. I mean, he stiff-armed a guy to the ground. So there's some things that he's doing that are really, really positive. He's very competent now in the run game. You can see where his hands and foot placement, he's very competent in the run game. And he looks like a guy that, given the opportunity, is going to be just a big time player. And obviously, the NFC's got a ton of really good tight ends. I just mentioned, Florence and Kittle maybe being two of the best ones, but I don't see why he can't be up in that conversation in the next, 12 to 24 months if he stays on this trajectory, because he's doing everything well. And the thing you like most about him is that he does not shy away from physical contact. And some of these tight ends that you bring in, and we have some on this team, we've had some before, they shy away from physical contact because they're not really tight ends. They're not really, if you make a volleyball player a football player, he's still a volleyball player. He's just a really good athlete. And sometimes those guys don't like contact as much as what we just say some football players do. But yeah, I'm really enjoying watching him. You just thrilled when a guy like that gets you on your football team. Jaden Reed had another nice day. I think 97 yards total offense. Packers are using that orbit motion pretty liberally at this point, and which is it's fun. What you always love about the NFL is, like, you see a team run something, and then we just start seeing different derivations of it. And off of that one play, there's so many things that you can do. And it really, I'll show it on tape, how it really changes the way the defensive structure, especially when guys are coming out of the backfield, how that has to kind of soften the defense. We're going to get into some tape here. There's just one point I think I just need to make out of fairness. So Jordan Morgan and Sean Ryan are, kind of 1 and 1A, or maybe 1A and 1 right there. But, Sean Ryan is getting the start. Jordan Morgan's coming in. He's had some injury issues, and now he's obviously had some more injury issues. And I think a couple weeks ago you say, okay, Sean Ryan's doing enough to say, let's just stick with this guy. And I know Jordan Morgan still has the injury bug. This last game was a step backwards, certainly from a footwork standpoint, from a physicality standpoint. It almost looked like he was playing in quicksand. It just didn't look like he had any suddenness to him. And again, we'll show a little bit of it on tape, but you have to play better. And listen, I've been in the exact same spot. This is one of those tapes that you go in, you got to take your medicine and watch, and you got to improve from week to week. And I think one of the biggest things with these guys is understanding situations, whether it be pass setting to a 3-man side or backside on a B that Zach Tom's coming down. What's that footwork got to look like? Like everything. And the cool thing about playing right guard is, or left guard, or in these offensive line positions, like your movements really don't change. So if you just get good at the same thing over repetitive movements, these automatic movements, and know when to use them, the game really slows down. And I know that sounds, listen, it takes years and years and years to do it. But unfortunately for Sean, there is a first round draft pick that I think got drafted pretty high, and I'm sure some people in the building would like to see him have some playing opportunities. So if you want to keep that position, got to work on some of the details. All right, I'm just going to preface it by this. My usual video guys are giving me some trouble right now, technically. So I've bastardized and gotten this video, but I'll just tell you, it's not perfect, but it's pretty clear. Okay. First things first, let's go to the offense. Here we go. So we go to, I think this is the first play of the game. And you see the deep crosser. And here's what he's looking at. You're even with the safety to the sideline, and you got all that space to throw. And this is one of those where you go, 15 to 26, 200 some yards, 2 touchdowns. But man, oh man, this for a guy his caliber with his paycheck, that's a throw that you expect to make every time. 10 out of 10. Go to the second play here, and this is just fundamental stuff. And I highlight Tucker Kraft on the backside because he's actually got the difficult block. Zach Tom's coming down for the B block with Sean Ryan, and we got a single up with Tucker Kraft on their defensive end out of a 2-point off the line of scrimmage. And you see, I'll show this twice. So second step for Sean Ryan puts him on his ass. And then Tucker Kraft butts up, squares up, and holds his ground against a guy when he's off the ball by a yard in a 2-point stance. So you've got players just needing to just improve the basics of the sport. Okay, third play of the game. You've had the poor run. You had the first play that was an incomplete for a 25-yard gain. What you love about this is they have great splits. What do I mean by splits? The distance between the center and the guard and the tackle are huge. Now, a lot of guys are going to go, is that good? Because that means there's more room to run. Well, I guess you can look at it that way, but I think the positive of this is, like, for example, the defensive linemen are lining up on the center, the guard, and the tackle regardless. So if you line up a foot away from your guard as a tackle, that guy's lining up where he thinks, in this case, Young's 3 yards off of Zach Tom, right? If they line up a yard away from each other, it's 3. So you can build in space, this like horizontal space away from the quarterback, expand the rushing lanes just by messing around your splits. Now, having said that, you got a 3-man game over here. You got to set to win. So it means that the guard position, you got to set back. You set wide. All of a sudden, you got to come back and slam off Josh Myers, which is he's gonna have a hard time because there's a huge space in that A gap, and there's just no way they're gonna be able to come around and get this play. So we start the game with a sack, and really that's a totally avoidable sack, especially on a 3-man game. If you just set vertical, set in line with everybody else, so you can punch and pass. This is a very blockable play. So I show this because Jordan Love does the helmet thing, tight end, echoes it out to the wide receivers, and then you see he just very subtly steps back inside. So he takes a step from his left to his right to get closer. Why does he do that? So he's got a better angle. Now the backside B wins big here. Okay, you get huge movement from Sean Ryan and Zach Tom, and then Sims is singled up against the defensive end, and they're sending. This is just the split flow look, but they kept the tight end on the backside because we don't usually do this. And now we can blow up that defensive end on the way to the backside corner, that backside safety, whoever decides to fill. And so it just gives you a little extra protection right there for him to slide through and get a 5-6 yard gain. Easy stuff. That's great. Now we got the quick toss. Or I guess it's just a handoff. Now watch the big man up here, man. This is absolutely. I wanted to put murder on here because he murders this guy, old 6'3". I just put hammer. Oh, and he just kept going too. He didn't even smash him. He just knocked the hell out of him, and then talked about it on the sidelines to all the other team. Oh, that was beautiful. Okay, we're doing a little helmet touching stuff again. We get off the line of scrimmage with Tucker Kraft. Now, this is a great O-line adjustment. What do I mean by that? They have a sense, whether it's because of the squared stances, whether it's because of the formation by the defense, but instead of just going a deuce on the play side between the left guard and the tackle, they all block down because they know these guys are looping over the top. So the center, instead of taking the nose tackle, actually goes back to the 4 technique. Okay? Great Trevor goes in motion. Your little butt. Now, I don't think he's supposed to log, and I think Josh Jacobs makes something here where he could have probably bounced this outside and followed Sean Ryan. But because they block it up so well, we end up making a first real big play of the game. Let's take one more look at, because I didn't notice this early, but who is that masked man? Who's the tight end over here? Is that Sims? Look at this oh, I did not see that earlier. What a unit. Tell you what, man, this tight end room's got coming around now. Oh, that was physical. And now we got, I mean, this, listen, this play should not have worked. Okay. So if you're Jordan Love, you're looking, okay, I've got this. Now they're running cover two. It looks like they switched to cover two, but they dropped the backside corner. So Jordan Love's looking at this backside safety, man. Like, I've got a lot of grass here to throw to. But this guy, I don't know how this guy misses the ball. I mean, he just completely overruns the receiver. Good Lord. I mean, that was high schoolish. And this is what I'm saying about chicken salad. I mean, you get full on pushed in the backfield here, the entire left side of our line. You know, we did this the same thing. So the Rams do this out charge with their defensive tackles. It's really hard to block, and it kind of puts you in this no man's land where you don't like you're trying to like take two guys. One, you're trying to like hit the guy with the inside hand and then wait for the tackle if you're the guard on the outside hand, but they're both out charging, so it's really difficult. So they get pushed back, but he makes chicken salad out of chicken. Bounces out here. What a run! What a great run! By the way, what camera worked by me? This is a who's on first moment. Okay, so if you're gonna skip by this guy, talking about Zach Tom, so they're running like a crack toss, but we're really just gonna reach the defensive end here, and he just runs a spike. But then it's like, I don't know if he didn't communicate with Sean Ryan. He kind of looks at it at the end like, oh yeah, that was me. But I think that was one of the few negative runs of the game. Unfortunate. That's definitely like if you've ever played football before, you get back to the huddle and you're like, did you hear my call? Like, what call? I didn't make a call. You see the split here? He's a yard out. We're talking about the tight end, yard off the tackle now. And this is kind of like, where do you start with the issues here on this play? This is the pick six in the end zone. So the first is you got three guys on the backside, and instead of just hinging back, they have Rasheed Walker coming down and slamming the three technique, and then opening up for the end. Well, Josh Jacobs has to take the end, and then Rasheed has to go back and get the outside rusher if they bring somebody off the backside. And you have to imagine running this on the goal line that they're going to do that. Now, Jordan Love probably shouldn't be inclined to stop moving at any point here because he should be able to get chased backside like that, unaware. And then this whole sequence, that is one of the keystone cops plays that are going to be hopefully for the season. This is what you love, Jordan Love. Jordan Love's when he's got good footwork, I mean, the kid's got some arm talent. Watch this pass. Just bop, 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 plant and throw, absolute dime on an out route across the field. It's just so impressive. Now, back to Sean Ryan. Listen, I've had a lot of bad pass sets in my life, so I can say with some clarity and confidence that this is not a pass set. Okay? Now, you get your hand knocked in, you headbutt the guy, you jump backwards, and you just end up falling down. And I don't know if this was called a sack fumble. It must have been a sack fumble going backwards because I think 91 got his second sack there, but not a good look. You see the corner down here. Let me back this up a little bit. So we run a nice little play action with the orbit. So he turns around. So this is a legitimate play action, okay? Because you're pulling I think you're pulling the guard here. You run the orbit. Even though he's not under center, he turns his back. So now the linebackers are like, okay, what is happening exactly? You can see they're both standing in their spots. Now Tucker Kraft gets underneath, and they've occupied everybody here by like running that wide receiver across the corner's face. So the corner sees all this kind of happening, but he's trying to now drive on Kraft, and he gets kind of in the way of the receiver. Kraft catches, but then two things happen here. The first one is great stiff arm by the runner, and the second is what a great job blocking, man. This is, if I'm Tucker Kraft, I'm going to my receiving corps. Hey, the first round's on me at the bar tonight, because this is the kind of effort that is infectious with a football team. You just love the way he blocked there, man. It's phenomenal. I love that. You know who used to block like that? Robert Ferguson. You guys remember that? The Dirty Bird, Robert Ferguson? He could block. I mean, they could all block. The whole room could block, but man, he liked to block. So we got a 2x2. We motion over to trips, okay? It makes it an easy read for the offensive line. They're going to run a screen pass here because everybody softens up. So the outside corner softens up, the slot, because they're all moving one guy over. So what happens when they move one guy over? They always take a step backwards. The linebacker does the same thing. So everybody's soft here. It's just so easy for them to see this as an offensive line. And this is how the screen game can get really effective. There's two ways to make the screen game super effective. You either A, figure out that it's man early. Okay, so if they bring pressure, you have a hot read. If it's man and you can get that one guy, there's nobody else there. So it's literally like, the center and the running back running by themselves for 20 yards. Or if you motion to a soft zone and they have to bump out, it usually makes those guys drop to 8 to 10 yards, where it's so easy for everyone to read who they're supposed to block that good plays come out of it. And then you see the motion in the backfield here. They get Josh Jacobs to bounce out again. They're just trying to see what's going to happen with all these guys. And they know now that the linebacker's locked up with Tucker Kraft. So we get the releases by the X and the running back, turn this into a tight end screen, get on one guy, plays being made. Fantastic. The fourth quarter, aside from that, the second half of the fourth quarter are, you're kind of trying to churn out the win a little bit. Not a great game. So defensively, here's the thing. You love the energy. Switching gears. You love the different looks. I love I really like, this is stupid because I don't feel like they didn't play, I think they played hard last year, but I just feel like they're playing harder now. I can't quantify that. I just feel like they're playing harder. And maybe here's why I'm saying that. I think for the most part, you don't see a lot of Williams missed a tackle this game. I don't know if I put it on here, but he came in like this instead of tackling the guy. It pissed me off. But we're not missing a lot of first tackles now. We're making so many more tackles than we were last season. First guy to contact, the last 3 seasons, really. First guy to contact is doing a good job of getting that guy down for the most part. The Rams for their part, they're good on the meat. The spine of their offensive line is good. They're well coached. Kieran Williams is a good player. I think he had 134 yards on the ground, almost 5 yards a carry. And then, of course, they have Stafford, Matthew Stafford. He's he might be a top 10 all-time thrower of the football. So he's under center a ton now. And they're doing that so they can get these receivers downfield in these play-action pass looks. The flip side of that is if you're watching film, they're always doing it. And so you think every once in a while you can pick up a tip-tails and tendencies of your offensive tackle, the guard, somebody, the backfield, and figure out hey, it's time to rush. And sometimes these guys are running at me and I can defeat them. You think that this would have been a big pass rush deal this week. And I think we got a couple. We got the one with Cooper on the stunt, and then I know Carl Brooks got one at the end. The Packers aren't winning consistently up front, in the sense that they're not getting to the quarterback. They might be crossing his face. They might be, you might be able to, smell his deodorant, but they're not getting maybe the sack numbers as consistently as you want. I know they had 8 a couple games ago, so it's tough to say that, right? But just from a consistency standpoint, you always want to see your guys win one-on-ones. And then when we mix it up and we run the games, the linebacker stunts and all this, the pressures, then obviously you want to get home. But from a fundamental standpoint, you have to ask yourself, can we win our one-on-one matchups? They knew to go after the right tackle for the Rams. Just, the middle was good. I think the tackles were kind of their weak point. The right tackle got beat on a number of these sacks, whether it was because he couldn't punch and pass off, whether it was because he tried to jump Carl and Carl beat him inside real bad. I mean, Carl should be teaching that move some other players, because it was a hell of a good move, and that guy was doing that a lot during the game. So there's that part of the defense. When you watch, they got the three safeties we've been talking about: Evan Williams, Javon Bullard, and obviously McKinney, who had another fantastic game. Got them all on the field at the same time, for a couple reps. I really like that. Javon Bullard's he played in the box this week, and you can just see he's gonna be a tone setter for this defense, man. Like, that guy is a missile. And he comes in and there is no fear in his game. I'm really impressed with I'm really impressed with his savvy. I'm really impressed with his communication ability, his football IQ, and then obviously the physical play, man. He's awesome. Xavier McDaniel is I said this on a show. I think he started the league. He's broken some record with 5 interceptions in 5 games. I just tell you this firsthand. When you're a big contract guy and you go to another team, you're going there and you think you're good, but you're also like, man, I really got to perform because I was the big signing. And especially we go into this is the damn Green Bay Packers. You know what I mean? I know the Giants are a big program, but this is the Green Bay Packers, man. This is Lambeau Field, And could this guy? He really couldn't be playing any better. And credit goes to him. Credit goes to the defensive staff. Credit also goes to all those other guys who are going to be unsung heroes, because when you do your job at the second level, in other words, when you're doing your job from a spacing standpoint on some of these routes at the second level, it allows McKinney to get further back. Maybe he's playing, I'll show it, I think he's 12 yards off the receiver vertically when Stafford lets the ball go. And they can only do that, in other words, the window so he can break is only possible because the coverage underneath is pretty tight. And it's pretty tight across the board. So all those other guys are putting in work here for sure. But I mean, you start talking about safeties right now. My mind always goes to Minka Fitzpatrick just because I saw him firsthand. Unique athlete. Kyle Hamilton is a different build. But you start thinking about the really, really good players in this league. I didn't know who Xavier McDaniel was until last year, and this guy is insane good. Let's watch some tape. Let me go back here. Okay. Yeah, watch Bullard here, man. This guy's a damn missile. It's like alert. And he just slides in, good with his eyes. He's just such a twitchy player. And I feel like when he gets his sights on something, he doesn't miss. Okay. All pro safety stuff here, right? So they run it into a bunch and they do all these different releases. And listen, the hardest thing in the world for the corner, we saw it last week versus the Vikings, is to chase a good receiver across the entire field. It's just the hardest thing in the world to do. And McKinney just sits here and just knocks his damn block off, right? And sits on it the whole time, is in perfect position. And again, we saw this with the Giants. He starts far back and he stays far back because I just want everything in front of me and I can come downhill and crack people or make plays. And you're always like, man, he's so far back. But his ability to navigate or to identify, navigate, and then act is rare. Got trips left. So this is a kind of an interesting route. So the Rams do a really nice job of occupying by crossing everybody on the inside. They cross face. And all they're waiting to do is see if that overhang flat player, if he gets deep enough, then all we have to do is cut in and there's just nobody here. And this is where, Stafford gets so many chunk plays, is they've really done a good job of stretching. I mean, they essentially have 2 vertical routes, right? Vertical-ish. They have a true vertical route and they're going to the backside corner. And then they run this is really just dagger concept down on the left where they run the 15-yard in. And there's nobody home. And it's just a really well-designed play, quite frankly. Again, they end up making tackles. I think making the tackle in itself is a big deal compared to last couple of seasons. This is just a tough look. So Stokes is in, and he's thinking, all right, I've got this. I don't know what they're running man match. I don't remember, but he's got his eyes on his corner or excuse me, on the wide receiver. And the wide receiver's dialing up McKinney to come and crack block him. Now they ran a lot of stunts with Quay Walker, and listen, for one am a big fan of them running stunts, and they're going to get caught sometimes when you run stunts. There's just no way getting around it. But I think for me, an aggressive Quay Walker is a better Quay Walker. I think he plays a better brand of football when he runs downhill. So this is not his fault at all. Sometimes you get caught when you run stunts, but this is just a tough look because if Stokes is a little bit more aware, he probably ends up making this play, but he's out of position because you're playing man match on the backside and they try to crack it. Good job running this guy down. Cooper can move. He can move. So you see the motion here. They're running this kind of like bowed motion with the tight end. We're running it too now as well. And we've just got these double teams, like we talked about earlier. Like these guys are pretty good at just running straight doubles. Now Cooper goes all the way around and ends up making this play, but they still get 4 yards on it because they can move Carl Brooks off the line with that double team. So this is the 4th and 4. So they get all the way down here. And this is where you got to understand, okay, so Rashawn Gary's thinking I'm probably going to get chipped. Now he might be releasing. McDuffie's got a man-to-man. We don't know where the center's going to go, but they probably know based on the call. Like if it starts with an L, guess which way he's going. So somebody's going to get singled up here. And when you get singled up, you got to win here. And I think Carl Brooks gets close to winning. Inside swipe. Good job getting in front. Like you're crossing his face, which is a good thing. And then so the other thing we just got to get a little bit more of is can we get Van Ness? What move can Van Ness win with? That's a pretty slow swipe, but he's going to be a speed to power guy. So anyways, they don't make the play. Fantastic. So it's still 0 points on the board. This is called crunch. I just wanted to show this play. It's kind of a cool play to watch. So, you run the inside trap, and then off the inside trap you run with it. Some people just call it crunch, and usually on the inside trap you're going to be trapping either the 3 technique or the 1 technique here. But they actually end up trapping the 3 technique to go outside the 3 technique in like a C gap play. So they get up to the second level and they just pull the right guard. And as Kenny follows the right guard, the tight end comes over and just traps Kenny and they run outside of him. It's a cool little play call. I know it's not for us, but cool little play call. You see it's really easy for the backside tackle to get up to Quay. Obviously, the center can get up to McDuffie, and I think he gets stripped up by the receiver safety entanglement here. Again, making tackles when you have to make tackles. Got under center. Here's the thing about McVay, obviously, and just these guys knowing each other and just kind of seeing what they're trying to operate. They run a 5-man line here by walking McDuffie up. I know it's not a true 5-man line, but they walk McDuffie on the B gap, and then they send Quay in the A gap. Okay, it seemed like for a large part of this game, the Rams did have answers to some of this stuff. And what are the answers, right? When you bring guys, well, okay, run screens. Or if you have guys walked up, run tosses because the angle that the linebackers have to run from is much more difficult now. So I think they run a screen here. Come back in motion. They run the screen. Yep. That's the one. Okay, this is Williams. Like, I don't put this on the end zone, but like right here. Let's just go ahead and make this tackle with our hands. Right here, come off. Just don't do that, bro. Come on. Same idea here. Play call battle, right? We got walked up in the A gap. So what do? They just run a crack, pull everybody around, and they get the tackle. The tackle's coming all the way around the right tackle just to pick up Quay Walker. And that's obviously a testament to how fast Quay is, but that's because they were full sell on the other side. They brought the safety off the slot, got caught up with a play call, ends up being a good run for them. By the way, how do you like that light in the middle of there? Like, Mike, could you get any better with the technology? And here's the thing. I got so angry, I just decided I was going to leave it in because I don't know, because I'm a fool. Great rep by Evan Williams here. Quay makes the tackle. Watch Evan Williams. 1, 2, knocks both those guys off their track. Is going to end up getting in on this play. That's a fantastic job. I mean, that's a welcome to the NFL. Hey, you belong. Excellent, excellent work. Oh, look at that finger. There it is. There it is. What are you doing? Beautiful man. So, always remember your first time. First time you got a sack. This is Cooper. You run the down, down, around here. And watch the right tackle. Turns his feet out, gets vertical feet. We call that getting vertical feet. Your vertical feet. Now all of a sudden you got to turn back inside. You got to move your hips, and you're done for. Can't pound. You can't punch and pass. Great job finishing the action. Great light in the middle of the camera. We got it. Trip slick down the bottom. And this is the pick. Great job second level. What do I mean by that? We got coverage, great coverage here. Up top, great coverage. You got 12 yards between McKinney and the receiver when this ball's let go. And he's already double covered. Really, really good play. I don't know if I show the whole return. Sometimes the returns, it's like if you don't score, it's a big deal. All right, here we go. Maybe, listen, I say this tongue in cheek because you've got some guys, but, I was surprised that our starting DN didn't do this at least once during the game because the right tackle does this Lane Johnson, wannabe Lane Johnson set where you take a kick and then you kind of run out the guy and pop and then you take a kick again. Now, I don't teach this. I actually recommend that people don't do this for this exact reason. Not everybody's Lane Johnson. What he runs at the guy, it's like, where are you going? And Saccaroni. Fantastic. Fantastic. Look, I think the defense and the Rams. Listen, they're missing Puka, they're missing Cooper Kupp. I mean, they got injuries, blah 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 blah. But you got to play who's in front of you. Nobody's fault. It is what it is. It's a good win. Listen, I can't tell you how many games where you come out of there like, man, I don't know how below we played. You're like, well, it's a W, and a W in October is a great thing. Breaking news: Jets fire head coach Robert Saleh. Well, you heard it here first. Actually, this comes out later. You won't hear it right now. Like, golly. Let's get some listener questions, man. That just blew my mind, actually. Firing Saleh after, you know what? 4 or 5 games in, after the London trip. I'm surprised they didn't fire. When I was with Miami, they fired Joe. I think they might have fired him on the plane. Man, that's a tough one, guys. That's a tough one. All right, we got some listener questions. Again, I appreciate you guys who bring these in. When it comes to position coaches in the National Football League, what are some characteristics they possess that separate the good from the greats? Experience, accountability, attitude. 3 questions he's asking. I think my number one answer would be curiosity. Curiosity about, am I doing things the best way? Am I doing things in the best interest of the people that are ultimately I'm responsible for, meaning my players in my position? Everything you said is right. Experience helps. Being accountable is a must, but I kind of feel like that's a prerequisite. I know not everybody's accountable, but you feel like you can't be great without being accountable to your guys. Attitude. Everybody has a different coaching style, and I think your ability to navigate the different personalities, especially now that are in the room, is a new skill that maybe they didn't have to deal with like when I was playing. But curiosity, I think, more than anything, and just being able to take a look at not just like the scheme, like, oh, this guy's coming up with a new play, let's copy it and do something, or hey, let's think of some new schemes to work, because that is important. But also, like, how are we handling our meetings? Like, are our meetings as efficient as they should be? Am I getting the information across in the best manner possible? If not, is there a better way to do it? How is our practicing? Like, how are my drills? Are we conveying the information we want? Am I giving people the um, am I giving my players the best opportunity to find success on Sunday? And if I'm not doing that, like, what dials can I turn? Is it the communication? Is it the technique work? Is it the schemes? Is it the way that we give information about the person they need to game plan against? Like, all of that stuff is relatively like um, kind of copy and paste year after year after year after year. And the really good guys are digging down and be like, how can I do every bit of this better? Right. And you're not always going to hit a home run, but that curiosity, because I'll tell you what that does is it gets your group really believing that you have their best interests in heart. Question 2: Are Gary and Van Ness bad fits for what this scheme is asking of them? Okay, so this is tough. I think Gary will come around. I think the problem with Van Ness is there's not a problem with Van Ness. I think this is who he was in college. This is who he is now. He's not a pass rush specialist. He's not a guy that's going to. You're not. He's not. He doesn't have He doesn't have the skill set yet to beat an NFL tackle consistently. And of the qualities that like, I think he does in the run game. I think he does some things really well. I think Gary's doing really well in the run game as well. But when you just talk about qualities that are going to separate you as like a defensive end, you just talk about pass rush. Like, he's not a pass rush guy. Like, I don't think that he ever was. And so, this is why when he was drafted, he was drafted really, really high, and that means your ceiling's got to be way above the roof here, and it'll take time to develop. And again, you just don't know what that's going to look like, because while physically he does so many, I'm sure if you put him in the weight room or you watch him, go through a combine, but how much wiggle does he have? How much balance does he have? How much force can he generate out of awkward positions? Like, all of that stuff that makes certain guys unique in this league. Like, what part of that makes him unique, and then how does he hone his game to exploit those things? I think that's the big question that he has to answer, probably for himself, as he moves forward. Is it concerning that against a poor defense we couldn't put the game away by getting at least 3 in our final 2 drives? Yeah, I think so. I think that's the expectation, certainly. And it wasn't. The Rams defense has had some really bad moments, but when you watch them, they're pretty fundamentally sound. They're well coached, and I think I think on both sides they had some answers for us. I just think Matt LaFleur is a really, really good play caller right now against anybody as a defensive coordinator, but you still have to execute. And sometimes you're just getting. And the unfortunate thing about offensive football is if one person gets beat, like, the whole play can go down. Whereas 10 people can get beat on defense and one person can make a play. So I think Matt LaFleur does such a good job of getting guys the ball with space to run, so they can, like, that one person who has the ball, whether it's Josh Jacobs or there's Jayden Reed, like, any of those guys can make somebody miss or make something happen. Just give me the ball and let me do this thing. And I think he does that as well as anybody's doing it right now, as far as giving those people the ball. But when you have to, in 4-minute drill, like, what do you got to do? You got to run between the tackles. You have to run when they know you're going to run. You have to move the ball in situations where you're trying to be a little bit conservative, but you're really just trying to put some points on the board because it's a little bit too close to call. So I think that part of the game they can just continue to improve on. But again, like, it's hard to complain about a win. How much of a step back did Sean Ryan take this game? I get that he's still building his young game. Does he have trouble with a particular type? I thought he took a step back. I addressed that earlier. Particular type. That's an interesting comment. Look, I think he has a. When you're not consistent with your pass set, for example, or your footwork, like, if you have problems with your footwork, and that's what I think I demonstrated today with just a couple clips. If you have problems with your footwork, you have problems. It doesn't really matter who you're playing against. If you play against an NFL body, then you might be able to get away with it. But or if you play against a guy that's like a 2-gapper, you might be able to get away with it. Like, they're not going to kill you because that's not their job. But if you get a guy who's ambitious in their pass rush, who's ambitious in trying to penetrate, who's ambitious with their hands, like you're going to get found out fast if your footwork's not really good. And for whatever reason, people have off days. This was one of his worst. Of this year, this is probably the worst he played. And I don't know if that's fair. It feels that way. And it just didn't look like he was moving very well. So, when I'm not moving very well, my dad told me to go get the jump rope. Mike, at what point do position coaches see and speak to guys like Van Ness and Rashawn Gary and tell them this is what's going to be done on this play, versus allowing them to take the edge, at which point they have been unsuccessful? Okay. I think by this you mean like, hey, I want you to pass rush this way. Well, if they have a stunt, like here's the thing: if you have a stunt, okay, let me back up. So for a lot of teams with specific quarterbacks, they'll have a pass rush plan, meaning they don't want this quarterback to be able to roll out to his right, release to his right. They don't want the quarterback to release through the pocket and he can run because he can run forever. They don't want him to roll out to his left. He has a tendency to do this, so we want to take it away. I don't know that with Matt Stafford you have a pass rush plan that isn't go get the quarterback because he can't move very well. So that's one. When you're running stunts and twists with linebackers, safeties, pressure looks, ETs, TEs, all those guys, TTEs, all those things. Now you have a way that you do that, and it kind of takes away your creativity. But you're taking away the creativity, but you're also forcing some switches on the offensive line, which is technically supposed to be a difficult thing to do. I think when you get good at it, quite frankly, the all the TEET stuff is like the easiest thing you can do for an offensive lineman because the punch and pass, and again, it takes away from the creativity of the pass rush. With these guys in particular, when you're a free rusher, you have carte blanche. Now you have things you should be doing against this player, and if they're not doing it, you probably need to get with your coach on the sideline. Your coach needs to set you straight. And I don't know if that's happening, but if you're going into the game with an individual pass rush plan and how you're going to attack that guy, at some point, like both guys are watching film on one another. So that's what's kind of frustrating sometimes. I think when you watch anybody in the league that's not having the success you think they should, it's like last week's a good example. Like O'Neal, exactly what he's going to do, and you've seen it a million times. So why isn't there a foundational baseline that maybe gets him off his spot a little bit in a little bit different angle so we can work that this week? And I don't know what they're doing from that regard. That would be an interesting conversation or interesting watch, like when you're at practice or at in the meeting room. Is there a position that you feel the least comfortable evaluating, or your own personal knowledge of that position? Yeah, I mean, like, listen, if you put me in a room with NFL coach, like an NFL coaching staff, and you said, Mike, I want you to do all the commentary on the quarterbacks, I would, and they're running blah 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 over here against this coverage. I would go. I mean, I would like, can you run that back, please? Run it back again. Yeah. So can you run it back one more time? Like, that would be tough for me. I could tell you about his footwork. I could tell you about his pocket presence. I could tell you about his eyes, but just understanding what the progressions are and all of that. Like I'm an amateur at best. Now, luckily with most of the other positions, confrontational sports kind of fall into basic things you're trying to accomplish. And so like, I understand how the body moves. I understand how to engage in confrontations and coming out of breaks and all of those kind of things. So that I'm comfortable with. But if you get into like the mental aspect of quarterback play, I'm a fan. I'm just above a fan. Maybe a little bit more than a fan. I don't know. I'm not very high. Can you explain about how injuries affect other positions, i.e., with a cornerback down, does it change the type of pressure calls to the DL? That's a great question, and I would say that if you don't have your guys in the back, so we know that sacks and interceptions, those are all correlated. Like the back end has to play well to get sacks, And if the front end's playing well, they're going to throw up more balls for picks. Like we know that to be true. So there is a relationship there. So if you're missing guys on the back end, then maybe they can throw the ball. They can get rid of the ball faster. Uh, maybe their game plan changes to max protection because they feel like they can beat you with 2 or 3 guys. So yeah, that like the play calling from a defensive perspective, you have to say, like for example, let's say Jair is out. We've had 2 corners down for the last couple games that are going to see major time, including our best player. So do you fundamentally just say, am I going to blitz more? Am I going to change anything? Am I going to blitz less? Well, I think because you have this new abundance of talent at the safety position, I don't know that they're changing as much as maybe some other teams would. It seemed like the O line struggled. Does it appear to be a mental issue or a physical one? I expected more from the run game against. I think the Rams are pretty good on defense. I know the stats don't say it, but like when you just watch them play, they they're they're pretty fundamentally sound on defense, and you can't say the same across the board. Maybe with the Green Bay Packers, um, I thought they got into a lot of trouble talking about the Rams now when you put them in nickel and spread them out. I don't know if we did that as much as maybe I thought we would have. And when you talk about is it a mental or physical thing, I think those you can't separate those two really. Like if we did everything in walkthrough pace and I told you to take proper footwork, like most of those guys would be able to do it. But when they get into the game, there's a lot of stuff going on up here, so that messes all your footwork up, right? So I think it's just a question of getting the reps, automating the technique, being able to kind of read and react and make the best decisions possible pre-snap, so you can make the best decisions possible pre-snap and communicate pre-snap, so you can be a really good read and react athlete on the back end, and maybe technique is the means by which we channel our aggression and physicality. And so in other words, I don't think that you can consistently have aggression and physicality or successful displays of aggression and physicality without great technique in this game and body mechanics. And so, it's just a question of kind of finding that confidence to do that at a high level. Why is the 4-man pass rush not getting home? Yeah, you got to win your one-on-ones. I showed it a couple different times. We've talked about it. Kenny Clark's a phenomenal player, but didn't grow up being a penetrating 3 technique pass rusher. Like he didn't grow up in, like the Jets system, like Williams does, where he's like, I penetrate, get to the quarterback. That's all they're thinking about, right? Van Ness is Preston Smith has always been a guy who's going to get you a handful of sacks and pressures, but he's just really good against the run. Van Ness is not a pass rusher. Brooks is a pass rusher, but he's young and he's still trying to figure it out. He makes plays, but to get to that next level might take a little time. We don't have another D tackle that's a pass rusher, so I think that's a big part of it. Enigbari is small. He's going to make some plays, but and Rashawn Gary is going through some stuff right now as far as getting to the quarterback, but you just kind of feel you just feel like he's going to have like a 3-sack game here pretty soon. So if you needed to really just say, where can I improve? I think, having some sort of nickel package that addresses the guards with defensive ends in passing situations would at least be like a NASCAR package would be change up. But why we're not getting home is quite frankly, this team isn't necessarily built from a personnel standpoint to win a ton of pass rush in the interior of the defensive line. Exact same question. What do you make of Love's struggles? Overblown or real concern? I think it's just knocking the rust off. Like every single game we did last year, we would point to some of his footwork and what it resulted in, good and bad, just like we did today. So you have that Brett Favre let her rip kind of personality with him. And look, I, for one, am not going to complain about that. But you want to make sure that he understands that his footwork does correlate with his ability to complete passes and really, just make sure your footwork's always right. And then your decision making, obviously you see that play in the end zone, you kind of go like, what are we doing? Like that was just in so many ways, that was a bizarre play. We're talking about the pick six. I just don't think I think everybody let's give him I think the team gives them an immediate pass, right? And the coach is like, dude, what are you doing? And they probably razz him a little bit today when they're watching film. But after that, I don't see that happening again. And another question about the pass rush: when does it make an appearance? I think it's a legitimate question. And I guess the best question would be: do you want to go find a guy that is like a true interior pass rush guy? Is that person on the roster? Who would it be, and how would you execute that? So if you wanted to take your four best pass rushers right now, I don't even know who they are. Enikbari, Brooks. I want to say Gary and KC, maybe Preston and Gary. But can you put all four of those guys on the field at the same time in a pass rush situation? What does that look like? And with the size of our linebackers now, not saying anything about their quality or anything, just the size of them, is that group too small on a 3rd and 8 to be able to make a play against the run? That would kind of be the question. Because if you think on, let's say, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 plus, you can get all those guys in the game, and if they run belly, then you can stop it. Then maybe it's time to start trying that out. So that's what we got. I don't even know who we're playing next week, but we'll figure it out, just like we always do. And thanks for watching, guys. Thank you to our sponsors, Bet Online. Certainly check me out, Michael68. Keep hitting me with the questions. I appreciate it. Smash that subscribe button, like, rate, and review us on our Prostitute Reform channel on YouTube. And until next time,